From a villainous hideout on the moon to the community center in Angel Grove, all the way to the mysterious command center, you're listening to Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers, where we cover everything from TV to movies and comics.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers, the vidcast and podcast, where myself and my co-host Nick discuss all things Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, Nick, Happy New Year first and foremost. It's going to be a good year for the Power Rangers, given that it's the 30th anniversary. As we know, we have the special to look forward to, which is bringing back a lot of returning faces, which we've already discussed a couple times on the show. We have the, I would assume, final season of Power Rangers as it currently exists with Cosmic Fury. And then my guess is next year, I'm talking about next year on January 10th.
Yeah.
Next year, 2024, I would assume is when the reboot will take effect. When Jonathan Entwistle's stuff gets rolling and on our screens. But with all the promising good stuff that is coming the Power Ranger way, as we know, at the end of 2022, there was a bit of sadness within the Power Ranger community as the living legend, the face of the Power Rangers brand for so long, Jason David Frank, passed away in very tragic circumstances. Which let's not go into the ugly details of it all. But just, give us some of your thoughts and overall memories of JDF.
Yeah, well, first of all, like I said, Happy New Year to you, Adam, and to all our listeners. It certainly is, like you said, going to be a great year all around in entertainment, in Power Rangers and etc. But yeah, so the passing of Jason David Frank, who I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, came around Thanksgiving, and to top it all off, came around the passing of another icon, Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, they were a week apart, which was like
for geeks and nerds and everything like that. We weren't exactly winning for a period of time there. So to have two childhood icons like that pass on the same time definitely hurts. But yeah, like you said, he was like my idol growing up. Before I discovered Batman and Justice League and Marvel, I was a Power Rangers guy, and Jason David Frank was a big part of that. Just the way that he carried himself, both on the screen and off the screen. He was always so gracious with fans and everything like that. Always making sure you got the most bang for your buck if you got to meet him and talk to him. And the loss definitely hurt, around the community. You definitely felt that. You definitely had actors, both past and present, kind of come out and say what an impact he had on Power Rangers as a whole. And then you had people like Austin St. John, who, if you're a Power Rangers fan, they weren't exactly the best of friends. And even, he came out and paid his respects as well. So, like you said, so we don't have to get into the details of it all. But, my main concern too is it's never the answer. And what I mean by that is when you go into details of it, if you're somebody that's going through a rough time in your life, because everybody's battling some sort of fight that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And you never knew he was going to do that, because he never showed it and talked about it. So just know that there is help out there, please, because this is something that is very, very serious even to this day. But, Jason David Frank, forever the Green Ranger, forever the White Ranger, arguably the greatest Red Ranger of all time. That might be up for debate for some, but you will be missed, and your impact will forever live on, my friend.
Yeah, for me, it's just the same thing. I mean, I was a little different than you, and just because of our slight age difference, where I had discussed. That's me basically saying I'm old, folks, but deal with it. I had discovered Batman first, but then through the '89 and '92 movie, and then right after that came Batman the Animated Series.
Yep.
But Power Rangers was right there, right behind Batman in terms of my fandom, and we've discussed the Green with Evil saga. To me, that is though that could be
Yeah.
some of the best television, be it kids shows or those shows, whatever in the superhero genre, whatever you want
Hmm.
to say. One of the best five-parters I've ever seen in the history of this genre. That's right. You got yours. I got mine, and we're in good shape. Now we can call the Dragon Sword both of us whenever we want. So yeah, I mean, his entrance just gave the show an added jolt. Not that it need. I mean, the show was clicking along famously, but beautifully. But when he came in, it was another level, and obviously he had an impact because they brought him back.
Yeah.
Even when Sentai footage ran out, they rushed to sort of amalgamate footage from another Sentai to
Hmm.
match this so that he could be the White Ranger.
Yeah.
And so he was the White Ranger. He went from green to white. Then, as you said, red with Zeo and Turbo and all that jazz.
Yep.
And then he came back as the I think was it the gold or the black
Black
Ranger?
Ranger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had gold in it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
And
actually
so
funny too. Both OG Rangers came back as a Black Ranger. Do you
yeah,
realize
yeah,
that? Both Jason and Tommy.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I liked his role in that when he came back as the Black Ranger because he was a
Yeah.
professor and he was kind of like this is gonna you're gonna like this comparison. He was kind of like the old man Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
kind of guiding the new crop of heroes, right? And
Yeah.
I
He
mean, he wasn't as
was.
old as Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond, but I thought you'd like the comparison. I
Yeah.
think
No, he's
both
very
actually,
good at the series. Yeah.
yeah. So he just and again, the thing that always struck uh, me about him was that he continually was the face of this franchise.
Yep.
Marketing wise, he made cameos. He was the first to cameo in the him and Amy Jo were the only two ones to cameo in the new movie, the 2017 movie. Um, he you talked about him with his fans at conventions. He was always made himself available. Like he'd stay in line until every single one of them was taken care of. I never got the pleasure to meet him,
Yeah. Same here.
unfortunately, but I've heard nothing but good things from people who have.
Yep.
And the other thing too is, here's another childhood hero of mine. He is to Power Rangers
Yeah.
what Hulk Hogan is to wrestling.
Yeah.
Like he changed the game,
Hmm.
and he took Power Rangers to another level, much like Hulk Hogan took wrestling to another level.
Yeah.
And to echo your sentiments, if you are struggling mentally, uh, please, whether it be talk to a professional, there's no shame in that. So if you think it's something negative or something bad or you seem weak by doing so, that's not the case at all. So if you can avail yourself to professional help if you need it, please take advantage of it. Do not take that option because it's not the way to go. But also if there is a stigma for you in talking to professionals, then believe me, if you have family or friends that you are close to, open up to them.
Yeah.
These people in your life love you and will want to do anything they can to help you through your troubles. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. And to anybody that follows me on Twitter or Instagram, if you're having whether it's a bad day, a bad series of days, you just need to talk. My DMs are open. No, it's a judgment-free zone. So please uh, uh, message me. I'm all ears, and I'm willing to help in whatever way I can. But yes, it's unfortunate that such a bright light and a positive influence in the community is no longer with us, and he will always be remembered. and he will live on as through the Power Rangers community forever. And may he be blessed and resting peacefully in the afterlife.
Amen.
With that said, there is some fun stuff to talk about this week, and that revolves around the Power Rangers crossing over with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Two of my great fandoms coming together, Nick.
Yeah.
And it's all the rage now because there is one completed volume of a comic book, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1, which is what we're going to review today in the second half of the show. And currently, as we're speaking, issue 1 of Volume 2 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Ranger crossover has begun and is in comic book shops now. So if you're inclined to read it, definitely consult your local comic shop or head to Amazon and buy it digitally. But before the comic books, Nick, there was a crossover between the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles. Particularly the Power Rangers, the In Space season. And I got to tell you, for years, because I had, like I said, I think after Mighty Morphin, when I think I stuck around through Turbo, and then I was like, all right, now they're just doing cars, I'm out. Like Fast and the Furious in the costume, it wasn't it wasn't on the list of my things. And it was pre-Fast and the Furious, but I'm not a fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah.
So just putting them in costumes isn't going to change my temperament on it. But
and like Fast and the Furious, the Power Rangers went into space.
Yeah, right. But Power Rangers will probably do it better, or did it better. But anyway,
yes, they did.
Every Power Ranger actor, in my opinion, is a better actor than Vin Diesel. But that's just me. That's just my own personal bias. Anyway, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to say I am Groot 45 different ways. So I had checked out probably after Turbo. So you can imagine my surprise when I'm slowly tipping my toes back into the Power Rangers fandom, where all of a sudden, I think it was on Twitter, where I see this GIF of a group of Power Rangers shaking hands.
It's real.
And I'm like, I did a triple take of like, what the hell did I just see? Did somebody make this? Like, did somebody go to the trouble of mashing these two things? Like a fan I'm talking about. Did some fan sit at his computers for hours trying to concoct this crossover? And so I look it up, and sure enough, nope, it's a real thing. Now keep in mind, I knew of the live action 1997 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the short-lived show. I knew it was by Saban, who was the creator of Power Rangers. Creator, because again, it ties to the Sentai stuff, and so technically he's not the real creator, but he's the anyway. Yeah. He's more of a creator. He's got more legitimacy than Bob Kane, but that's a whole nother argument. Anyway,
another podcast.
Yeah, that's another issue. But so I knew he had created it, and I remember seeing an episode, and I'm like, well, this ain't the first two movies. And I love the Ninja Turtles, but there's only so much that I will subject my to. I see, after Batman and Robin, I've learned my lesson where it may feature my favorite character.
Yeah.
But man, if there's a stench around it, I don't have to subject myself to keep watching it. Like I can love a brand and a franchise and know that, hey, this particular piece of it might not be for me. And so that was that 97 Turtles show. But I had never imagined that they would cross over. But they did. And you suggested, since we're doing the book, why don't we discuss that one time they crossed over in live action? So that's what we're going to do in the first half of this show. So, Nick, give us a little bit of a synopsis, a background to this crossover.
Yeah, and of course, we'll talk about, the whole semantics and the logistics of portrayals and everything like that
yeah.
as we get in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the plot, and look, I'll be completely upfront here. Like almost every episode of Power Rangers, the plot oftentimes is utterly ridiculous, but
It's not Shakespeare.
you just have fun. Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
So in this episode, again, it's Power Rangers in space. So it's Astronomer, who's the villain in Power Rangers in space, essentially recruits the Ninja Turtles because, again, like every other villain in Power Rangers, they're failing to defeat the Power Rangers. So like, here's the Ninja Turtles, and she puts the turtles under mind control,
right?
In a way to kind of infiltrate the space shuttle that they're currently on, so she can take it over, things like that. And then it's just mystery of like, Angelos the Red Ranger doesn't trust the turtles, so then the turtles are like trying to take them out, kind of one by one, things like that. So it's essentially it takes place mostly in one place, to be quite honest. But it's almost like the reverse of the comic that we're going to talk about, to be quite honest. Right. But yeah, that's kind of like what it is. Turtles are under mind control, and it's ironic. We don't really get a whole lot of Ninja Turtles versus Power Rangers in the episode, but enough is there. Per se.
Yeah,
but
ultimately it's a team up, which is
right.
That's what eventually you expect that.
Right.
But
what you think?
You know what? Look, having just said what I said about the 97 one episode that I watched, and I didn't go any further, and I still haven't. I will say though, I had fun with this. I really did. I have questions, which I'll get to in a second, but I think I'm obligated, Nick, to go. This is going to be the first of the year, so you're on the episode for the first time in 2023.
Yes, I was going to bring it up. Come on, do it.
Well, I'm going to click the pen, and I'm going to click it twice. So the first time I'm going to click it is Astronomer, right? The villain.
Okay.
On the list. Listen, I wasn't attracted to Rita at all. She never did anything for me. I mean, the Elizabeth Banks version did, but this is I can say is the first Power Rangers villain that we'll put on the list. And I don't remember much of In Space. Like it's not one of those ones where I could see an episode and
the most memorable part of In Space isn't the villain.
So I mean she's on the list. That's number one. Number two, Yellow Ranger.
Yep.
Usually I'm Mr. Pink.
Yeah,
I'm like in 1978. I like pink, but for the In Space version of Power Rangers, the Yellow Ranger on the list.
Look, man, we're two consenting adults here. We can be completely honest here. She was a very, very attractive young lady in Power Rangers.
Absolutely. I don't know what she's doing now, but notwithstanding, she's on the list, right? Yeah. And so, so there's a win for Yellow. If you're a Yellow Power Ranger fan, you got to win. One of them is on the list. This may happen as I continue to go through and see. Who knows what's going to happen? But right now, you were on the first show of 2033 where I clicked the pen. That's an impressive statistic.
The clicker on that pen, man, I tell you, it's got one hell of a lifespan.
And I got a backup in case this one stops working. But yeah, so no, that's I'm like, wow, this is Astronomer again. Stuff started coming back. I'm like, oh, she's very attractive. So
yeah,
and I believe she's also she's the sister or something. Yes. There's some shenanigans down the road that where she's the sister or whatever. She turns good and all that stuff.
She actually becomes the Pink Ranger in Lost Galaxy.
Which then would be, well, when we get there, she'll still be on the list, but then it'll be back to Pink. But anyway,
you see what I've done here,
right? So now here's my question. At the beginning of the episode, Astronomer has her goon face the laser down to Earth and facing New York, and the laser comes in, and the lid of the sewer pops open, the smoke comes, and from seemingly beneath the sewer, the turtles magically teleport to the surface level. Mm-hmm. Now here's my question: did they come from the same Earth, or were they plucked from an alternate Earth? Because, and here's why I asked that question.
Yep.
Later in the episode, when the Turtles first seemingly come in to help the Rangers, right, against this iteration's version of putties, right? There is one of the Turtles mentions that the Power Rangers only exist in comic books on their Earth, and when the Rangers first see the Turtles, they're confused as all hell because wait a minute, the Ninja Turtles actually exist. So neither of these two entities seem to exist to the other, and yet here we are. How did one not know if they're not just comic books and movies respectively on their respective Earths? How did they exist on the same Earth and not know of each other's existence? Right. I understand from a legal contractual IP, two different owners owning the general IP of the, I understand from that level, but the in story continuity explanation, like what is it? And we don't get an explanation. It's just, hey, I didn't think you were real, but apparently you are. Okay, let's roll with it.
Right.
So that's why I was confused. But it never got stated. We never got an answer. I forgot that Bulk and Skull were still in this thing at this point.
Yeah, they still were.
I'm like, hey, you guys are still here.
I think it was their last official season, actually, until they got bought back later on.
Yeah, and then the interesting with that is the new Hango, the new Teenage Hango. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty sure it's just a retrofitted set of the juice bar. Like they just moved shit around and altered some stuff, but I think it's the same set.
Yep.
Which I'm like, oh, it's juice bar, but not. All right, well, I'll roll with it.
The juice bar makes a lot of money, man.
And listen, I will say those fries they got me hungry while I was rewatching the episode. So I guess Ernie was long gone at this point. Come on, you couldn't keep Ernie around. You did a face, but apparently this lady made better fries. So there's that. So yeah, I just noticed that it looked like the juice bar just retrofitted with and apparently soap operas do that a lot, where they use the same set and they just retrofit it, and it seemed like they pulled one of those tricks out of the gate. So what did you think of the sort of not knowing whether or what was your take on if the Power Rangers and the Turtles existed in the same universe or not?
Yeah, now that you make a good point, it is kind of fascinating to think about, because I guess in one way you can look at it like, I don't know, maybe I guess the Rangers aren't in New York City and in space, and the Turtles are, so it's like this idea of usually, in real life, you don't usually know what goes on in other states' news unless it makes like national news. So, so I guess in one area, maybe the Rangers and the Turtles just never heard of each other because that sort of news never crossed over. Or it could just be something as simple as like before Batman and Superman never met, they never knew of each other either, right? So it's I guess it depends which way you look at it, but I think
because Angel Grove is technically in California, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the Turtles are in New York, so. But also remember, and we know Angel Grove was mentioned because he said Angel Grove, so I'm assuming that's where we are here at this point. Otherwise, Bulk and Skull actually moved to follow the Power Rangers around. Like, what are they? Every time the Power Rangers change locations, they uproot their lives and just let's follow them around. So,
see, that is what we would call groupies, my friend.
Well, exactly. That's what it would be, right? Listen, if I'm going to follow, to be fair, I'd follow the this particular Yellow Ranger around. So if
What,
that's
just
what,
going honest, I was actually kind of fond of the Pink Ranger too.
yeah, she's cute too. Look,
you know,
I'll collect the pen for her.
you know,
I
I
normally don't
mean,
do three in one show, but yeah, sure, why not? But
it's gonna turn into a simp
you know,
show right now.
when I'm 70 and I have carpal tunnel, it's gonna be from clicking the pen. Um,
The pen's gonna break as we're talking here.
yeah, but no. So then, the only real issue I have with this particular episode as a negative, when the turtles get on the ship to infiltrate it, and they're corrupting the ship's computer.
Mhm.
Um, Donatello's the one doing it, which makes sense because like he's not the only one doing it, but he's the one physically doing it. But which makes sense because he's the smarter turtle. But my issue is you don't see that smarts from Donatello. Like he's asking the Rangers all kinds of questions that I know this is not his forte, but him being as smart as he is would have a lot of those answers.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically when they're sort of knocked back into free of astronomers' mind games, and he's got to, diffuse the self-destruct from going off, right? The bomb or whatever. He doesn't know which wire. He's it's a guess. And I'm like, folks, whoever wrote this is Donatello here.
Yeah.
Like, he's the smartest one of the group. It should not be a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they didn't really nail the character.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is none of the turtles got enough character moments for me to say, yes, they got the character right, or no, they didn't. Like they just weren't. You didn't really get to know their characters. I mean, to do that, you'd have to watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they had a good handle on at least the character traits of that iteration of the turtles. But from this episode, they really don't have much. Character development is not the word, but you don't really get to see their character traits because of what the story is asking them to do, right? So you don't really know, But having said that, I enjoyed the team up fight scenes when they fought together, like seeing Rangers and Turtles working together and those combo moves, and that got me pumped, and so despite all my issues with how the turtles, some of the turtles came off, I still enjoyed it. And I will say too, I know a lot of people had an issue with how those turtles looked, and to me, I cut it some slack because look, it's 1997 TV budget,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the Jim Henson Company doing the suits, so I cut it some slack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to look at an episode of Smallville and say, wow, man, those effects look wonky in 2023. I mean, it's 20 years old, or whatever, or in this case, older, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to cut it a little bit more slack in terms of that. So what did you think of how the Turtles were portrayed? And also, like, when they did get together, the fight scenes and their actual team up, what did you think of all that?
Yeah, I'm actually with you. Taking it into account, I think the episode is fun as all hell. Like, it's still cool to see the team up. Like you said, there's a lot of really cool combo moves between the both of them. But that said, the Turtles are my least favorite part of the episode, just because, like you said, I don't think the characteristics of the Turtles are quite nailed. Essentially, just the look of it, kind of like they just look weird, and so it's like. So it kind of just is what it is, but it's again, it's like, they make the grade A mistake of this is Power Rangers in space with the Ninja Turtles. This isn't the Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, right? So they obviously made the Power Rangers like the way they are and they made the supporting characters a little less powering, if that makes any sense, or empowering, I should say. So it's like the reverse of the comic that we're going to talk
It's
about
kind of like
again.
Batman versus Superman. Batman took top billing in that movie,
Right.
and Superman got
Yeah.
shifted.
So
Yeah.
it is that graded mistake. But like I said, that said,
Yeah.
it's still fun.
Oh yeah.
But it's the combination, I think, at the time was still kind of hard to wrap your head around. But
Yeah, I
it's
think.
still fun.
I mean, look. Ultimately, had this been with Mighty Morphin in live action, it might have worked better.
Yeah.
Just because Mighty Morphin, despite the fact that they dealt with monsters and aliens, they were still more earthbound. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
you're taking the turtles into space.
You're adding a more fantastical
The
element to it.
Power Rangers
Yeah.
on their own, I could see going to space because Zordon and all that jazz. There's alien, there's extraterrestrial stuff already mixed into the batter that makes Power Rangers, right?
Yep.
With turtles, I mean, it's essentially martial arts with some wonky Frankenstein monster stuff thrown in, but it's still. I mean, there is aliens technically with the turtles, with Krang and all those people. So it is there, but for whatever reason, the turtles seem more. And I can't believe I'm going to utter this word when talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I
But
know.
grounded, if you'll allow that term. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it would have gone down a lot easier had it been with the Mighty Morphin crew.
Yeah.
And what I would have done, how I would have improved on it, as much fun as it was. If I'm Saban, what I would have done is concoct a story where you could have a two-partner and the turtles appear on Power Rangers for one part, and also the Power Rangers then appear on the Turtle Show. That would have been a smarter way to go about it. Because then you can highlight each team's, personalities and strengths on their own individual show.
Yep.
That's how I would have done it.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
But again, still a ton of fun. And, I'd welcome a live action crossover between the two.
Especially
again.
today, it'd be so cool.
Yeah. Or hell, an animated crossover, which we'll get into when we talk the comic. But
yeah.
I guess I've said all I need to say about it. But is there anything else you wanna add to the?
No, just that if you're a fan of each of these IPs of these properties, I would still give it a watch. Like I said, it's still fun that the event actually happened, especially for 1997. Like you said too, it was almost like a whoa. Yeah. So especially when you're a little kid too, I think it's even more exciting to watch. And if you're an adult too, I think there is still some enjoyment to be had. But the season itself, I still think is one of the greatest.
Oh yeah,
seasons of Power Rangers TV. So if you get up to that point, kudos to you. Keep going.
Yeah. I was like, as I was watching that, I'm like, I want to rewatch this season.
Yeah, right.
Like, so
yeah,
that was my but yeah. Okay, so let's do look, take this rating as it is, but let's rate it, give it a letter grade, even though it's kind of ridiculous to do it. Mm-hmm. But what would your letter grade for this be?
I'm gonna give this like a solid C+. I think it's fine. The crossover is cool, but there's definitely better crossovers to be had. Yeah. So what grade would you give?
I'll give it a B- because look, I elevated because again, I didn't even know this existed up until about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And hey, it got me to click the pen 3 times. So
I love how that's the barometer of your.
But look, no, but it's two of my favorite properties.
Yeah,
they're teaming up. Take into account what year it is, and let's just roll with it and have some fun.
Absolutely, well said.
And so that's what it is. But now we're going to take a break, and on the other side of that break, we're going to talk the Boom Studios edition of the Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles joining forces. So we'll be right back Stay tuned.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back, and as promised, we are going to discuss the highly successful Boom Studios crossover between the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, the Power Rangers comics are published by Boom Studios, and the Ninja Turtles comics are published by IDW. So the two companies had to, work together and share and be mutually exclusive, which is something that on the comic side, it's nice to see. I'd like to see this in adapting this to other media, but we'll get into that in a bit as we go through. But Nick, I had brought this to your attention, so give us a brief synopsis of what happens, and then before you give us a synopsis, an initial reaction. What do you think of this?
Yeah, my initial reaction too is, I know I've told this before to you, is Ninja Turtles were also a big part of my childhood. So to get Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles teaming up, like, that's awesome to me, right? So I didn't know there was a comic form of this until you told me this, which blew my mind, because then reading it, I'm like, why didn't I not read this before? Because it's awesome. So my initial reaction is that the comic truly delivered on everything that I wanted it to deliver on. Granted, we'll talk about the very ending, because we're going to talk about that. But the synopsis is Tommy Oliver is on this kind of side recruitment mission, and he gets caught by the Turtles, and it's kind of a little bit of ambiguous as to whether or not Tommy has went evil again. And the Rangers go back to investigate, because they're like, our Tommy wouldn't go evil again. He's good. Like, he wouldn't do that again. So the Ninja Turtles come in the fold, and it's because Tommy's best friend, childhood friend, is caught by the Shredder.
Yeah, Tyler is his name. Is the guy's name.
So he goes to rescue his friend, but he's playing the part a little bit, right? So Tommy's kind of pretending to be in the clan here, essentially. So he's just making everybody think that he's bad. But the story is kind of this idea of the Turtles think that the Rangers are bad. The Rangers just want to protect Tommy. So that's where the crossover comes in the fold. But then once everything gets all sorted out, it's Rangers and Turtles team up from there.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when I first heard about this crossover. This was I remember I was at a Christmas get together at my comic shop.
Nice.
And we were all just talking, and then my comic book guy, as we were just enjoying some food, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, didn't you see last week the first issue of the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover came out?" I'm like, "What? How did I miss this?" I'm like, "Can you still get me number one?" He goes, "Yeah, I can back order." I'm like, "All right, back order and put the rest on my list," and that's how it came to be. And I loved it, and we'll get into more about that in a minute. But the cool thing to me was that this book plays on some of the things we had already seen happen in the Power Rangers TV show, and that there's a precedent for Tommy going bad.
Yeah.
So when he goes missing for a week, Kimberly's not losing her mind, with worry about, oh my God, he hasn't checked in. What if Rita captured him again and turned him evil? So I like that they're referencing the previous events of the show, but they're doing it in a way that if you're just a Ninja Turtles fan picking this up for the sake of keeping your list complete with Ninja Turtle stuff, you can get into it. There's a throwaway reference, but it's easy enough to follow along that you don't need to have seen the show. But even if you're a Turtles fan, how did you not at some point see the hysteria that was going on with Power Rangers back in the 90s? So there's that. But anyway, if you are a novice to either brand, they give you enough of the basics that you're cued in. You can pick up right from the ground floor without any previous watching or reading. So there's that I liked. And with this, when they first, when the Turtles and the Rangers first encounter each other, you know, there's fighting, but there's banter back and forth, and you realize that, you know, Donatello's a fan of the Power Rangers, so the exploits of the Power Rangers are known by the people of New York. And so there's a clear assertion made with that statement by Donatello that the Power Rangers exist within the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe, right? Conversely, the Power Rangers think, oh, this is one of Rita and Finster's monsters, right?
Right.
Like they've run out of so many that now they're doing, you know, bipedal tortoises, right? Ninja tortoises. I think Billy said something like that. And they keep calling them monsters. They're like, holy, hey, stop with the insults. You know, we're the good guys, right? And so the explanation of why the Rangers have no clue who the, you know, flying, you know what, the Turtles are, is because, well, the Turtles operate in the shadows at night because they're ninjas. And so when they do their ass-kicking shit, nobody sees it, right? So there's that myth where, sure, Channel 6 news reports on the mysterious Ninja Turtles, but if you don't see them, right, they're urban myths. They're like that. It's like Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
Unless I personally see Bigfoot, I'm and nonsense you talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of deal, and so I like that explanation. Yeah,
Yep.
I appreciated that, and I'm like, I can roll with that. Like I can, in my head, I could justify that. And so poor Tommy though, he's always the target of, let's mind control this one.
Yeah, right.
It's like why that one? Like what? I know why he's the coolest one, but why is it always going to be poor Tommy? Like, you know, but you know, early on, I just got to say, the way Ryan Parrott, the writer, writes the banter during the fight between the Turtles and the Rangers, he gets and totally understands both sets of characters, and it's very clear from the get-go.
Yep.
I think. But in Tommy being taken, you know, mentally hostage, let's say, we get to learn a little bit about his backstory that I don't think we learned in the show.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was part of a orphanage and then he was adopted. Like we never knew that. I don't think we ever heard that.
I don't think so either.
So that was a cool little revelation. And I like that it's adding to the backstory of Tommy. So that was cool for me. The other thing that, again, the banter in this series was really good because it also occurs when you get the first meeting of Shredder and Rita Repulsa. Like they do not like each other. There's animosity there because they want to. If anybody's gonna rule the world, it's me. So that's the, you know, that's the animosity between the two of them. And I like that, and they're having this verbal sparring match about, you know, I could take you, or no, I could, I'll wipe the floor with you. And they're like, I think it's Shredder. It's like, okay, why don't we team up, you know, for the sake of vanquishing both our enemies, and then we'll settle this after the fact. And you even get banter between Bebop and Rocksteady, and Goldar Finster, and Babu. What was it? What's the other guy? Babu? What the hell is his name?
Yeah.
The other ape, like I can't remember what his name is, but
Yeah.
you know
I
which
think
one
it's
I'm talking
yeah, Boo. Yeah.
about. Yeah. But so there's bands all over the place, and it 100% works. What we discover is that Shredder knew that Tommy was a Power Ranger the whole time was trying to infiltrate the Foot Clan, and wanted to entrap him because he wants his Power Morpher. And what's cool is Shredder already has some predisposed knowledge of the Power Rangers through his associates in Dimension X. I'm assuming Krang and all those people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. The Shredder, the Ninja Turtles being bad guy, already has pre-existing knowledge of 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 the Rangers, and I think one thing Tommy's Power Morpher, I should say, is a pretty interesting MacGuffin because it shows how powerful the power coins, the Morphin Grid, and the Morphers are. That other people, aside from just Rita, want this thing. And I think the reason why, I asked my own question, why always Tommy? Because that Power Morpher initially has some of the dark magic associated with it.
Yep.
I think it
Yeah.
makes it a little bit more powerful.
Yeah.
And that's something I never, like, I knew it was powerful because he almost destroyed the Rangers in the 5-part thing. But I never associated that, hey, maybe it's more powerful
Right.
than the others, right? So what
Yeah,
did you
that's a
think
good
of all
call.
that? What did you think of, what stood out to you about all this portion of it?
Yeah, man, the Shredder, one bad man. Gotta tell you, that is the plot of this all is actually what's fascinating to me is like you said, it's that Shredder has pre-existing knowledge of the
Yeah.
morphing grid, and his idea that he's gonna use part of Tommy's personal life to kind of bring him into the Foot Clan because he knows that Tommy will come for
Yeah.
his childhood, best friend eventually. So, and it's this weird thing. It's like all the Shredder really wanted Tommy to do was morph so he can find out how exactly it works.
Yeah, what does
right?
this thing do? Yeah.
So like it's almost like when Tommy actually morphs, Tommy's like, oh, like I'm like the most badass Power Ranger. You're about to like get taken down. And the Shredder's like, oh, thank you. You just did the one thing I wanted you to do. Now I'm gonna
Yeah.
defeat you. So and then it's like when a Shredder actually does, we were talking a little off camera here. It's like, man, the Green Ranger Shredder design
Oh man.
was like one terrifying thing in a way that it like molded into like his actual look.
It looks so badass.
It
Like
looked
it's
really, really cool. And I'm like, I'm actually more terrified of how you look now than I did in the way like when they make you look like you're in the shadows. But the whole partnership with Rita too it actually works. That's the part that um kind of like blew my mind a little bit is that it's like their banter works and it's
you know
just
what
like,
they you know what they reminded me of? A married couple that have had enough of each other and were like
right.
ready for divorce. But they had
Like
that history
Joker and
that
Harley Quinn. Well, a little bit better, but like that.
yeah,
You know?
the difference between these two is they both vowed to kill each other.
Right.
Whereas the Joker just abuses Harley whenever he wanted
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
mentally.
And
Right?
finally the villains for once, Adam, are like, I know we hate each other, but let's put our differences aside and defeat the common goal and then we'll kill each other after.
Yeah.
Finally, it's
Uh,
like, oh god, that plot device.
and the worst thing about how cool Green Ranger Shredder looks is that they made an action figure of it, and now I want it. And
Yeah.
Big Bad Toy Store is very much an addiction for me, so I have to try and
God, that
repeat
site should just
myself.
block me for all the times that I visited at this point.
It'd be good for your wallet, but they wouldn't do that because they know they can sucker you into it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so I mean, the art was fantastic. I just gotta say,
Yeah.
now to talk about the thing, and but you know what was the interesting part where the story takes a turn is that when Shredder takes the morpher and morphs, there's a disturbance in the morphing grid to the point where the Rangers can't morph. The morphers still work, but because Shredder's kind of corrupted the morphing grid, the Rangers themselves can't morph.
Yeah.
Conveniently, when the Rangers can no longer morph, and Shredder is aware of this, Rita does her part and sends down a monster. I'm pretty sure it's somebody that we knew that she sends down, but
It's it's
Bebop and Rocksteady grow.
Yeah.
And so the only recourse is, well, the Rangers can't morph, but the morphers still work. The Turtles get a morph.
Yeah.
And a couple of things. When they agree to morph, and Michelangelo's having a fanboy moment, telling Leonardo because Leonardo goes, all right, let's do it. And Michelangelo's like, no. You got to do the pose and you got to say it because we don't know if we're ever going to get a chance to do this again. So we got to go full out. So they do the whole it's morphin' time thing.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it is that, there's 4 turtles, but 5 morphers. So April O'Neil finally, I think for like the first time in the history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, actually gets in the midst of the fight and does some fighting as the Pink Ranger. And
you think she'd be the Yellow Ranger too, by the way, but
because she wears the yellow jumpsuit,
right?
And that's what I thought.
But it's fine.
But listen, if you're gonna cry now, listen now. Yeah. I don't know if there's an animated universe version of me, but if there is,
that pen is really going to good service today.
All I kept thinking was, imagine if they made a live action movie. It was the rebooted Turtle franchise from the Michael Bay era. I know some people have issues with that. I didn't mind it. It was okay.
Megan Fox tried, man.
Wasn't as good as the 90s version, but still, I thought they were decent.
Yeah.
Imagine Megan Fox as April O'Neil as the Pink Power Ranger. Hello? Like, I can't be the only one that wants to see this.
Give us a thumbs up if you would like that idea.
Come on, Paramount. Come on, Nickelodeon. Come on, Netflix. Where the hell we have to, hashtag what's the hashtag about bringing it to Netflix?
Right.
I'm going to start my own.
I actually think there is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie this year, but it's animated. That's
not the one I want. I want the one with Megan Fox as the Pink Ranger.
Oh.
Yeah, come on, listen. I don't care who you are, but Netflix and Paramount, if you don't think there's money in and I'm being serious, forget about my crush on Megan Fox for a second. I know it's hard, but forget. Put that aside. If both those studios don't think there's money in some sort of crossover between those 2 franchises done on a bigger budget scale, properly, I don't know what drugs you guys are smoking because that's a win right there.
Especially today,
So, but anyway, so they all the morph, and Raphael's the Red Ranger, of course. Leonardo's the blue. Michelangelo is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And Donatello is the Black Ranger. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird too because you'd think Michelangelo would have been the Black Ranger and Donatello would have been the blue, just because the colors are kind of close to each other, But it's fine.
They try to match the bandanas as much as possible, right?
But it works.
Keep it color coordinated.
Right. Yeah.
So of course the fight's going on, and in typical Power Rangers fashion, Rita makes Bebop and Rocksteady grow, which necessitates the summoning of the Megazord. So they summon the Megazord. Meanwhile, the actual Power Rangers are kind of moping around in the sewer because we don't have our powers. What use are we? And Splinter says something very important where he says, the powers don't make you Power Rangers. It's who you are that makes you the heroes.
Yeah.
So here are my son's weapons. Get off your rear ends and do something. Because Kimberly's the only one that wants to do something about it. Right? Kimberly's very proactive in this book.
Yeah, that's awesome to see too.
That's my girl, Amy Jo. Oh, can you imagine Amy Jo Johnson and Megan Fox?
Oh, that's Amy Jones' spirit. Right
Good God Almighty!
Yeah.
Come on, Netflix and Paramount. Anyway, so so they sort of ninja up, and they're wearing these very casual ninja kind of thing costumes, and they have the Turtles' original weapons, and they're joined by Casey Jones. And they go to the Technodrome, and their purpose is to rescue Tommy and Tyler. So while they're doing that, the Rangers are now the Turtles as Rangers are trying to manipulate the Megazord. And there's a cool comment of Raphael's, because he's the Red Ranger, is driving or the lead operator of the Megazord, and he's struggling because that's not typically Raphael's expertise. So I think I don't know if it's Michelangelo or Donatello or one of them says, I think Leo. They say, why aren't you driving? Why aren't you in control of this thing? To which Leonardo responds, well, somebody wanted to keep his original color. So the whole thing was Raphael wanted to keep red, and that was that's basically
well,
how
the red has to drive the Zord.
so Raphael he kicked himself in the rear end with that one.
Yeah.
And they're doing pretty good, to be in all honesty, until Shredder summons the Dragon Zord, because when you're the Green Ranger, one of the things you do is you summon the Dragon Zord. So now the Turtle Rangers are outnumbered 2-1. But in come, once they've rescued Tommy and Tyler, in come the actual Rangers, and they're piloting a giant metalhead, which is the mechanical turtle that Donatello invented, enlarged because of another invention by Donatello.
Mm-hmm.
In this version of the crossover, Donatello is actually smart. And so the turtles come in as Metalhead, and they start helping out. And they're still. I mean, it's a battle that seemingly at one point could go either way. And then Zordon, in his infinite wisdom, reminds everybody involved, guys, you know that the Megazord can interlock with another vehicle, another structure. And I'm like, shouldn't they know this already, given the amount of times they friggin' morph? But technically, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't know.
Because Tommy's still the Green Ranger. They haven't done as many conjoined operations with other Zords. So maybe that's something that hasn't crossed their mind yet. But then again, didn't the Dragon Zord and Megazord morph when he was the Green Ranger? So I'm like, why is Zordon being the one that has to tell you? I guess they needed more for Zordon to do, other than, Billy, have you figured out what's wrong with the morphers yet?
Billy, I need you, Billy.
So they needed Zordon to say that.
Yeah.
And the Megazord and the Metalhead combine into the Turtle Zord, to which I say, I want a toy of that. It still hasn't been made. Where is it? I want to take it. So they combine, and ultimately, they're able to defeat the enlarged Bebop and Rocksteady. Shredder and Rita temporarily get away and go back to the moon, the base on the moon. But once Tommy and his powers are restored, and the Rangers are the Rangers again, and the Turtles are the Turtles, they go to the moon base. They confront Rita and Shredder, but Rita uses her magic to protect Shredder and says, "Okay, take me to Dimension X, or I'm going to leave you to the Turtles and the Rangers, and you can fend for yourself." And so they disappear. Both groups kind of go their merry way and promise to get together for a fun, like play. Again, it's the wrong word, but a fun outing in Angel Grove sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Rita and Shredder resurface, they'll rejoin forces again and battle as friends this time, as opposed to reluctant, partners as they were this time. So, what did you think of that whole third act and how that all played out?
Yeah, I thought the third act was just pure fanboy comic book goodness of both of these both of these franchises. To be honest, the whole idea that when the turtles morph, it's not them actually as the Power Rangers, it's them like manifesting the armor that
Yeah.
the Power Rangers wear, which was awesome because, like you said too, the toys of that, just like awesome. I mean, you can buy every.
It's a miracle I haven't bought them all yet.
I know
I'll tell you.
it's just looks so good. And then like them like as the Power Rangers like in the Zords like trying to figure it out. The Power Rangers do a great thing that I always love personally. I always love this trope is like when the heroes have to sort of improvise.
Yeah.
And when they realize they don't have like what makes them the hero, they have to try to, resort to other measures to try to still
Right.
save the day. So I like that it was kind of this throwback of like when the Rangers had to use their ninja costumes in like the OG movie, the 95 movie.
Yeah.
And then it was, those ninja costumes that in that they were able to get their powers back. So that idea is just so cool too. All the interactions too between the Rangers and the Power Rangers throughout the whole book were just awesome. And then the idea that the villains they get defeated, but then it's like they go to live to fight another day, and it's a little open ended, right? Where it's we'll do this again some other time. So I love like when that happens too, because then like as your imagination is when you read in these books, it's like well maybe something down the line could still happen, right? It's not like it's the Shredder gets kicked back into Earth 10, and the Power Rangers got to go back to Earth 2, and it's like never gonna happen again, right?
Yeah.
So it's I really really like that. So
It was cool because it ended in a similar fashion with Power Rangers Justice League, but the difference is, this time we're getting a sequel, or we have a sequel happening. Whereas I'm still waiting for the Justice League or the Justice League Power Rangers.
Oh, that still pains me.
Part 2. But
in the moment of self-respect between all of them when they go their separate ways, that's like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Especially between Tommy and I think it's Donatello, I want to say, or maybe it's Raphael.
No, awesome. Tommy and Raphael, they have that final fight.
Yeah.
Raphael's intent, like he's determined to have that final fight to see who.
Yeah, Raphael thinks he can take down Tommy. Yeah.
And I like when they're all there, and Trini's like, "Should we get involved?" And Donatello's like, "No, just let them do it."
One thing about guys, man, you let them figure it out, man.
And then Michelangelo's like, "I'm going to get popcorn. Anybody want some?"
Right. So it's one thing about bros, man. You duke it out, and then when it's over, you grab a beer. Everything's fine.
Yeah. So that was cool. and like I said, the way it ended with I was when I first read it, I was hoping for more.
Right.
Then when they announced the toys, I'm like, because they made they were dropping hints. Mm-hmm. Then they announced the toys. I'm like, okay, the toys are cool, but don't tell me that all those hints were just for the freaking toys.
Yeah.
And then they finally revealed that we were getting a part 2. So I was happy. But when I read issue 1, spoilers, it's good. We'll cover it when.
Yeah. Oh God, I got to get on that. Yeah.
Finishes, but yeah, it was good. But so the other thing I want to mention before we rate it is, I don't know if you noticed, but I think it was Michelangelo when they were initially or was it Donatello? It was Donatello. he asked Billy, he's like, how does the Green Ranger play the flute dagger through the metal, the helmet? Because there's no
mouthpiece.
there's no mouth opening, and as fans, you always wonder how the hell does he make sound out of that thing?
That's so cool.
So I'm glad they put it in there. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, between Zach and Michelangelo discussing pizza toppings, I was very offended because none of those toppings by either of them sound appealing to me. And so shame on you for degrading pizza.
And Zach's really good in this book also. I do want to highlight too. Zach's really, really good in this book. Yeah.
But as a person of Italian background, I was offended by the crap they were putting on pizza. Ridiculous.
The only thing that belongs on pizza, cheese, sausage, and pepperoni.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
And hot pepper if you want.
Yes, and
like
spicy.
So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, fruit does not belong on pizza.
None of that nonsense, pineapple, all that crap.
No,
and marshmallows and Skittles and whatever else they were putting.
The only vegetable on there, pepper.
Yeah, whatever other nonsense they were talking about putting on pizza. Ridiculous. But that's the
Oh, God.
They're lucky I'm not knocking a point for that nonsense. Anyway, with that said, why don't we go ahead and rate this book? So remember, we do 5 for the writing and 5 for the art. So go ahead.
Yeah, so for the art, I'm going to give this 5 power coins out of 5.
Oh, I like that. We're going to use that from now on.
We're going to use power coins. Yeah, there you go.
I like that.
And then for the writing, I'm going to go a really nice 4.5 out of 5 just because I want to see more. But this is really, really good. And I highly, highly recommend this to anybody.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you pretty much all the way. But I'm going to go out and say I'm going to give a 5 for the writing. I thought Ryan Parrott did a fantastic job.
Yes.
He nailed both groups perfectly. Like every character was spot on. The reason I give it a 5 is this. If it ended and we weren't getting any more, thankfully we are. But if it had ended and we weren't getting any more, I would have been happy if that was the only time they crossed over. I would have been content because they had a beginning, middle, and end, even though...
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
With Shredder and them off in Dimension X, there was enough of a resolution that I was okay. So that's why I gave it a full 5. The art by, let me get his name so I can source him properly. Simone DeMeo.
Very good.
Was phenomenal. There's that one splash page at the very start of the story where they're interlocked in battle, the Rangers and the Turtles.
So good.
Where I did start yelling a variation of Splinter, April, Martha to try and get them to stop. I remember when I first read that. So as much as it pains me when my favorite heroes fight, it looked badass, it looked great, and it just set the tone for amazing art. And like you said, when you can make the Shredder even more scary and more badass, you know you're doing top tier stuff. So 5 out of 5 on both the writing and the art for me. This is fantastic. This is why you read comics.
Amen.
And if you're a fan of either of these franchises or both, pick it up. And before we say our goodbyes, I will say this. While my pie in the sky hope would be a live action crossover, I'd be more than happy with one of those animated movies. Like, remember when they did the Batman and the Ninja Turtles?
Oh, yeah.
I'd like an animated movie. So,
especially in this art, in this sort of art style too. Oh.
So listen, whatever is easier for the two companies, I would assume Paramount and Nickelodeon, and then and then I guess Netflix.
And Paramount's killing it on their streaming service. They would love something like this.
So Paramount and Netflix, you guys would make a killing for this stuff. Join together, at the very least, give us an animated adaptation of this. I think it would do wonders, and I'd love to see it, and I know so many other people would. So that's my word of advice. But with that being said, it was another fun one, and we will be back with more Power Rangers talk soon. As we know more about the 30th anniversary, but when there's a trailer for that thing, me and Nick are going to come here and break it down. And also, when we get more reboot news, we're going to cover that. So, and there's plenty more comic book talk regarding the Rangers coming. So, If you're a Rangers fan, Nick and I will be back throughout the year to discuss the Power Rangers franchise. So stay tuned for that. But before we do that, if you want to follow Nick and I on social media, you can. So Nick, what are they?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys. Thank you again, Adam. It's great to be back. First show of the year. Man, I'm excited to give our listeners one hell of a 2023 covering news and everything involving Power Rangers and have fun. But if you guys want to keep up with me, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zenick. All my other handles are on my Twitter. That's the best place to reach me. And you can hear me on the Vigilante 1939 podcast weekly. Thank you, sir.
Indeed. And if you want to follow me, it's at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. We also have a Facebook group, which is in the description below. Click that. I will add you, and we can keep the conversation going there. But until next time, remember, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers are forever. From the first time both groups destroy the good name of pizza to the last. So long, everybody.